missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart.
What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I have a brand new client who wanted to do some gray blending for her hair. So a little bit of her color history. She has some base color done in her hair. I think at one point she tried to color her own hair as well too. And then she has like some old highlights in there. And you can see her roots do have kind of quite a bit of gray. So her goal essentially when she first came to me was to do my gray blending and try to get as silver or at least like ashy as possible. And after looking at her hair, I told her that I really didn't think it would be possible to even get anywhere silver or gray, and that it was going to take her quite a few sessions before she even got there. And that really depended on how light her hair was able to get. Because of her color history, I just imagined that as I'm highlighting and putting some foils in, that we are going to see some parts that lifted warmer than others. And depending on whichever level or band in her hair is the warmest, we're going to have to tone to that level. So let's say she has some pieces that lift to about a level 9. But then some pieces lift to like about a level 6 or a level 7. Then we're gonna have to tone everything down so that we can tone out the warmth that lays at that level 6 and 7. And that's exactly what we did for her. So I'm just going in right now and doing my normal placement that I do on majority of my clients, just to make it very easy to do touch-ups and just get through the foiling quite quickly. So I do a hairline foil, I did a little baby light around the hairline, and then I left a bit of negative space, did another weave diagonal back, and then now I'm going to go in and do my center part sectioning, which I'm just going to be doing slices. And if you guys are new, slices is something that I love to do on a lot of my clients, especially if they have a lot of dark that we're trying to get them pretty light. It just makes a lot more impact as far as doing like in comparison to doing like a weave. I feel like you get more color when you do a slice, and in the end when she comes back in next time, it's just gonna make my life 1,000 times easier because I can immediately see where I sliced before and pick all the hair that I did not slice that time. So the purpose of this whole video is to kind of show you a realistic expectation for a client that comes in and they have various different types of color history and they're wanting to grow like gray or have some type of gray blending. And a lot of times you have to explain to your clients, or I find that I explain to my clients what is more realistic and what the possibilities are, and you always want to under promise and over deliver just in case you can't get them as light, because of course since this is my first time doing her hair, I really don't know what's underneath all the color that lays on her hair. There could be a bright warm spot here and there, I really don't know. So we'll find out after the highlights have been processing, because we all know bleach doesn't lie, and I'll really be able to tell and give her really realistic expectation of what we can tone her with after all of that. So since this is her first session, another thing that I want to take into consideration is the health of the hair and also their lifestyle. If they are looking for something very high maintenance or low maintenance, I first wanted to start her off with something that was still dimensional, because just in case her hair couldn't take too much of the color, I wanted to make sure that it was still dimensional enough to where it didn't feel too terrible. So I am doing slices back to back, but I'm not going to be tipping her out or anything like that because I want to slowly get her a little bit lighter, and then this is also for me to see how her hair lifts and reacts. So with every session, we can try to get a little bit lighter if their hair allows me to, meaning if their hair still feels good, and most importantly is if they're following my directions on how to take care of their hair after the whole color service is done. Because a lot of times if I do all of this work in a session and the client decides that they don't want to put the effort into taking care of their hair and keeping it moisturized, then I can't proceed with the second session of getting them lighter, and then we're kind of just stuck at whatever color we did last time, and I just have to touch up the root rather than try to lighten the ends up a little bit and get her a little bit lighter. So that's another thing too that's very crucial when trying to get a client lighter and you're creating some sort of game plan to where you want them to eventually get lighter with each visit they come in. It's really important to tell them that they need to keep their hair healthy and follow your directions on how to take care of it so that their hair is healthy enough to even get lightened again the second time. And there are times where like a client's hair feels way too dry and I just feel like I can't lighten it, because for sure if we lighten the hair, it is going to get a little bit drier. That is normal. Like no matter whatever you do, what bonder or anything, when you're relightening the hair, it will get a little bit drier. But if your hair is already healthy, it can take it, and you can use products again to help remoisturize. But if the hair is way too dry and I ever feel like I can't or I should not lighten it because it's too dry, and even if she does put a lot of moisture products after I lighten it, it's still not going to feel that great, then I definitely will tell them like, sorry, we can't lighten your hair today because it feels so dry, and then set up like a regimen for them to kind of get them there for the next time. And that's okay, because sometimes that is just a learning process with the client, and just having a very thorough consultation and communication with your client is very key at that point. Okay, so here you can see we're already beginning to tone her, and she really didn't lift as light. As you can see, one of the things too when I do this type of gray blending, even though I'm doing the same technique that I have done on other clients and they're able to get silver, what I do here, because her highlights didn't really lift as light, is the areas, since her hair where the color is so dark, and her roots, if there's areas and patches that have quite a bit of gray and you feel like if you don't cover it with some base color in between, it's gonna look like a patch of light, then in those specific areas, what I'll do is I'll add just a teeny like patches of base color to kind of blend that together and help it look a little bit more cohesive with the back. So I didn't do it on camera, but off camera around her hairline and in her part line, I added a little bit of a base color in between the foils to kind of give her that bit of dimension so it didn't look like a whole gray patch there. And then after that, I did that because if I didn't do that, she would have those light patches. But since she's going to be lighter the next time and hopefully her hair will overall be blonder, we might not have to do that. And I only do that because I figured her hair wouldn't get as light and it would be still a contrast to her gray with the color on the mid-lengths and ends. So for her toner formulation, we did a 6-1 at the root, which is a level 6 ash. And then for the mid-lengths and ends, we did a mixture of 8-2, which is a level 8 violet. And then we dropped it and deepened it with a 6-1. So I usually like to use toners that have just like violet or ash in it rather than using a natural, because I want to tone out as much of the warmth as possible but keep it as ashy too as possible rather than have it more tan. So I'd rather have it as ashy as possible because I find that doing it that way, their hair and the toner lasts a little bit longer, and it just takes a bit longer to kind of fade out because it's more on the ashier side. And since this toner is super ashy, I just kind of let it sit visually, and once I start to see that a lot of that warmth is taken out, then that's when I rinse it off. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. So she still is generally more on the brunette side, but there is some pops of light. When she comes in next time, I expect that the toner is going to be completely out, and as this fades out, it is going to fade quite warm because she lifted pretty warm. And depending on the health of her hair, we'll see if we can get her lighter. But you can see she has beautiful dimension, and we're able to gradually get her a little bit lighter. Now, she's not completely the gray blending what she was imagining, but that comes with time, and in the next following sessions, if her hair is light enough, we can get her closer to her goal, which is to be lighter and a little bit more ashier, to the point where we don't have to do base color anymore in between the foils. And again, when I did the base color, I only spot treated in the areas where she was really white, because I find that when you do base color and then highlight right over it, the highlights are a bit warmer when you're lifting on top of base color versus lifting on virgin hair. So that's why I said earlier I like to spot treat my base color depending on where the gray is, because I don't want to fight more warmth when I have to lighten her eventually down the line in her next sessions. But yeah, so the goal of her next appointment is practically what we're going to be doing is picking out all of the dark that we left out this appointment. And so that leaves the highlights that we did today outside of the foils. And once those are outside the foils, we're going to tip those parts out and relighten them again, because a lot of them lifted to about a level 7, some even lifted to a level 6. So that's going to help it get to closer to like a level 9 and have her color eventually start fading out a lot lighter and just less orangey. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.